This is an English love story that will stay in your heart forever. It is a story about the sea, a ship, and two hearts that found each other in the most unexpected way. Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. Welcome again to this channel. If you want to speak English or learn English, then you are at the right place. The year was 1664. The sea was big and dark. The wind was cold and sharp. A large ship called the Silver Dawn sat in the harbour of Bristol, England. It was ready to sail. This English love story begins on a grey morning in April. A young woman stood at the dock. Her name was Mara. She had brown eyes and long dark hair. She carried a small bag. She looked at the ship with trepidation. Why was she afraid? Because she had never been on a ship before. But she had no choice. Her father was sick in the city of Lisbon. She had to go to him. This is a perfect English story for beginners because the words are not difficult, but the feelings are very deep. Mara walked to the ship slowly. A man stood at the top of the steps. He was tall. He had a dark beard and strong hands. His eyes were Caroline. He looked at the sea, then he looked at her. His name was Captain James Hartwell. He was 32 years old. He was the captain of the Silver Dawn. He was a serious man. He did not smile much. You cannot board this ship, he said. His voice was firm. Mara looked at him. I have money, she said. I need to go to Lisbon. The captain shook his head. This ship carries only cargo, he said. No passengers. Mara felt her head drop. What would she do now? She opened her small bag. Inside was a letter. She held it out to the captain. Please, she said, read this. The captain read the letter. It was from the governor of Bristol. It said that Mara must be allowed to travel. Her father was a distinguished map maker. His maps helped sailors all over the world. The captain looked at Mara. He looked at the letter again. Then he nodded slowly. You may come, he said, but you stay in your cabin. Mara's cabin was very small. It had one bed and one small window. The window looked at the sea. That first night, the ship moved slowly out of the harbor. If you enjoy English listening practice, this story is made for you. Read it aloud, feel every word. The water was quiet. The stars were bright. Mara sat by the window and watched. She whispered to herself, I'll be okay. The next morning was different. The wind was strong. The ship oscillated on the waves. Mara felt sick. She tried to stand. She fell. She tried again. She walked out of her cabin slowly. The cold wind hit her face. She held the side of the ship and breathed deeply. You should not be out here. She turned around. It was Captain James. He was standing near her. The deck is dangerous in this wind, he said. I needed air, she said simply. He looked at her face. She was pale. She was shaking, but her eyes were strong. He had nothing for a moment. Then he said, Hold this rope. He put a thick rope in her hand. Don't let go, he said. She did not let go. For 1 hour, they both stood there. The wind blew, the waves roared, and neither of them spoke. But something happened in that silence. Something warm, something small, something that felt like the beginning of an English love story. This is the kind of story in English for learning that teaches more than just words. It teaches feeling. The next few days were monotonous. The sea was calm. The sky was grey. Mara spent her days reading. She spent her evenings by the window. But every evening she also heard footsteps, slow, heavy, familiar. Captain James walked the deck every evening. And every evening she stopped near her cabin window. Did he stop on purpose? She did not know, but she started to wait for those footsteps. One evening, she opened her door. Captain, she said. He stopped. He turned. Would you like some tea? She asked. He blinked. No one had ever asked him that before. I am a captain, he said. I know, she said, but do you drink tea? A very small smile appeared on his face. Yes, he said, I drink tea. He came inside. The cabin was tiny. They sat across from each other. The tea was warm. The conversation was slow at first. How long have you been a captain? She asked. 8 years, he said. Do you love the sea? She asked. He thought for a moment. The sea is all I know, he said. She nodded. My father says the sea has a language, she said. He puts it in his maps. James looked at her with new interest. Your father must be a perceptive man, he said. He is, she said softly. He is everything to me. This English learning story is for every person who wants to feel the power of simple words. The next evening he came again. And that evening after that, they talked about the stars, they talked about maps, they talked about England, about Portugal, about the sea. Mara noticed something. When James talked about the sea, his eyes became alive. They were no longer cold. They were warm and luminous. Is it possible to fall in love with someone's eyes first? Yes, it is very possible. One night, the sea became angry. A storm came suddenly. The waves were enormous. The ship shook hard. Mara was thrown from her bed. She hit the wall. Her head hurt. She got up slowly. She went to the door. Outside was chaos. Men were running. Ropes were flying. Rain hit everything like sharp stones. Mara! She heard her name above the storm. James was there. He ran to her. He grabbed her arm. Get back inside, he shouted. Are we going to be okay? She shouted back. He looked at her. His face was wet. His eyes were serious. Yes, he said firmly. I will make sure of it. He brought her back to the cabin. He checked her head. You were hurt, he said. It's small, she said. It is not small to me, he said quietly. He looked surprised by his own words. She looked surprised too. For a moment, neither of them moved. The storm raged outside. But inside that tiny cabin, everything was very still. This is a kind of story that in English makes you feel the storm inside your chest, not just outside on the sea. The storm passed by morning. The sky was clean and blue. The sea was calm again. Mara came out on deck. The air smelled like salt and rain. She looked at the horizon. It was beautiful. James came and stood beside her. How far are we from Lisbon? She asked. 3 days, he said. 3 days? She felt something heavy in her chest. Only 3 days left. That evening they sat together again, but this time neither of them spoke for a long time. When you reach Lisbon, he finally said, What will you do? I will take care of my father, she said. And after? He asked. She looked at him. Was he asking what she thought he was asking? I don't know, she said honestly. He nodded. He looked at his hands. I have sailed for 8 years, he said slowly. I have never wanted to stop, until now. Her heart beat fast. James, she said. It was the first time she used his name. He looked up. His Caroline eyes met her brown ones. What are you saying? She asked gently. I am saying, he said slowly, that I do not want these evenings to end. She reached out her hand. She placed it on his. He did not move. He looked at her hand. Then he turned his hand over and held hers. This English love story had become something real, something that lived between two people on a tiny ship in the middle of the great sea. The next 2 days were the most beautiful of Mara's life. They walked the deck together in the mornings. They watched the stars together at night. He showed her how to read the wind. She showed him her father's maps. Look, she said, this is the route we are taking. He looked at the map, then he looked at her. Your father drew this route, he said. This exact route 15 years ago. Yes, she said. He knew this sea well. James was quiet. His face changed. Mara, he said carefully. What is your father's full name? Thomas Aldrich, she said. Why? James stood very still. The color left his face. What is wrong? She asked. He turned away from her. He walked to the edge of the ship. She followed him. James, tell me. He took a long breath. 15 years ago, he said, I was a young sailor. I was 17 years old. My ship was lost in a storm. Every man almost died. That is terrible, she said. A man saved us, he said. He came in a small boat, alone. He brought us to shore. He stayed with us for 3 days until we were safe. Mara listened carefully. He gave us his maps, said James. Those maps were the only reason we found land. He gave them to us without hesitation. He asked for nothing. Mara's mouth was open. James, she whispered, that man? His name was Thomas Aldrich, said James. Your father saved my life. The silence between them was enormous, bigger than the sea, bigger than the sky. Mara's eyes filled with tears. He never told me, she whispered. He saved 17 men, said James, and he just disappeared. I looked for him for years. I never found him. This easy English listening story for beginners now carries a secret that changes everything. Mara laughed through her tears. He hates attention, she said. He never talks about himself. James turned to her. His eyes were glistening. I have been trying to repay that debt for 15 years, he said, and now his daughter, you walked onto my ship. He shook his head slowly. Is this a coincidence? He asked. She looked at him. My father always said, she replied softly, the sea always brings the right people together. James looked at the sea. Then he looked at her. And for the first time in 8 years, Captain James Hartwell smiled. Not a small smile, a real one, full and wide and warm. The next morning, the Silver Dawn entered the harbor of Lisbon. The city was golden in the morning light. Mara stood on the deck with her small bag. James stood beside her. Thank you, she said, for letting me on your ship. Thank you, he said, for the tea. They both laughed. Then she said, will you come with me to see him? He was quiet. He will want to meet you, she said. I know he will. James looked at Lisbon. He looked at Mara. He picked up his coat. Lead the way, he said. And so the captain of the sea walked into the city. Not for cargo, not for trade, but for the daughter of the man who once saved his life, and perhaps, just perhaps, for something even more profound. They say the sea has no memory, but it always remembers what matters. It remembered a young sailor on a sinking ship. It remembered a map maker in a small boat, and 15 years later, on a ship called the Silver Dawn, it brought their two stories together and let love write the ending. This English love story does not end at the harbor. It begins there. Thanks for watching and subscribing. Have a good day.